What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Before we go to Jake's interview, this is Decklist that he used to get top 8 at Idaho States, and as he is another Night March deck. But the kind of interesting thing about his deck is he played a Boufflant, and because this Boufflant, it has Sap Sipper, which does 40 damage for if you attack a grass Pokemon. That's not what he really used it for. He used it for Derail, which does 80 damage, and you discard a special energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Obviously, it's really good against Toad, and there's also a couple things he is good against, and I asked him about that in the interview. And besides that, his deck's pretty much straightforward. Oh, he does play 2 Empoleon instead of 1, but he only plays 1 Archie, and I asked about that. Hopefully you enjoyed the interview, and thanks for watching. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Today we're doing another States question and answer video with Jack. And where are you from, Jack?
Seattle.
Seattle, Washington. So this is your Week 1 report. So where did you play at Week 1?
I played Night March with Empoleon.
Mm-hmm.
Just relatively standard list. Played it at Idaho States and made top 8, losing to Chris Collins, who won the whole thing in the top.
So how did you do in Swiss overall?
I went 5-1 and was the second seed.
Mm-hmm.
We were 3 away from 64, so we were at 61. So you couldn't safely ID in at 4-1,
okay,
which was pretty rough. So I had to play it out.
Okay, so do you want to go over like your Swiss rounds real quick?
Sure. Round 1 I played against Yveltal with Raichu, and I won that 2-0. I just set up really well both games. I think game 1 I opened and I had turn 1 Night March for 180 going second. So there really isn't much you can do on that situation. And then round 2 I played against Donphan, which is a horrible, horrible matchup. And game 1 I went in with my Boufflant, which, well, I went in with Mew with using Derail, which is really good against pretty much everything in Donphan, because it knocks out Fanfys and Haluchas pretty easily. And just 100 damage for 2 energy is really nice. But I won game 1 and 3 of that game, and they were both pretty lucky. He didn't set up, and I did. So that was about it.
That's how Pokemon works sometimes.
Yeah. Then round 3 I played Seismitoad Slurpuff. Again, horrible matchup. And game 1 he rolls me, because that's what's supposed to happen. Game 2 he opens Seismitoad and does something like double colorless energy, laser, Verbank, pass, and a muscle band. So I'm pretty scared, but my hand, I open Pumpkaboo with nothing else, and I look at my hand and it's 3 Battle Compressor, a double colorless energy, and a Dimension Valley, and I wake up. So I just took the donk. And then he dead drew game 3. Round 4 I played against another Seismitoad Slurpuff, and I actually lost to it.
Okay.
I didn't get a donk or anything. So I was 3-1. Then I played against Seismitoad Garbodor. Once again, horrible matchup. And let's see, that's, yeah, round, so I was 3-1, yeah. And game 1 I decided to go with a risky play, doing some kind of Lysander. I think I did a Lysander instead of a Juniper, and I went for a Trubbish, Quake, and punched it for 100. But he was just able to Grenade Hammer, and I dead drew. Then game 2 and 3, I just kind of set up a little bit faster than him. It wasn't like lopsided in either of them, but I was able to just get rolling a little bit too fast, and Boufflant put in work against all of the Toad decks. Just being able to discard special energies on him is so frustrating for them.
Yeah, it seems really good.
Yeah, it's a really helpful one of tech, and I didn't want to sacrifice all the space for Leafeon. Just because it's good, but Seismitoad can still hit it for a fair amount of damage, and if they limit their attachments, which generally they try to do, they can just beat it, you know? I mean, yeah. So, round after that, let's see, that's 4 rounds, right? No.
Round 5.
Round 5, I played Yveltal, Donphan, Toad, so that was round 5.
Yeah.
And then round 6 I played against Fairies with Mega Gardevoir, and I wanted to ID into cut, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
So Game 1, she opens Charizard, attaches a rainbow, and passes, and I get another donk. And then Game 2, she is able to Geomancy 3 times before I get anything going. And I still almost pulled it back, but she was able to take the game. And then Game 3, I set up too quickly, and I'm starting to do 210 damage a turn with Joltik. So
Yeah.
that was about it.
Okay.
So then I went into Cut. I was second seed playing against Chris Collins, Yveltal without Garb. And Game 1, there was an interesting moment where my Empoleon was asleep, and I flipped 7 tails in a row on sleep checks before I got knocked out. And I still won that game just because I got pretty lucky late game. I hit everything I needed.
Mm-hmm.
Then Game 2, I did something like ending him to 2, and he needed to hit double colorless energy and Lysander, and he hit them both. But he didn't have that many cards in his deck, so
okay.
it was like a fair thing. Then Game 3, we're just kind of playing a normal game. Neither of us had a fantastic setup, and he has. And then, like 3 or 4 turns before the end of the game, I Sycamore away a water energy instead of attaching it to a Mew or a Pumpkaboo in case Dimension Valley goes away. Stupid misplay. There was no reason not to.
Yeah.
And then 2 or 3 turns later, he brings out a Darkrai, knocks out my Mew active, puts 30 on my Mew on the bench, putting it at 90, so he has 1 prize left, and then he replaces Dimension Valley with a Verbank, ends me to 1 and him to 3. So I have 9 cards in my deck, I think, and there's something like Dimension Valley, Dimension Valley, Dimension Valley, Sycamore, Psychic, or Water, double colorless energy. So 6 cards give me the win. And then Battle Compressor Lysander, Computer Search off of an N1. And I hit Battle Compressor Lysander. I feel like that's kind of like, the Pokemon gods paying me back for those 2 donks.
Yeah.
So I can't be really mad about it. Although, if I had won in top 8, I'd have my invite right now. So, but I gotta give props to Chris. He played fantastic. He absolutely deserved to win that tournament. And he did really well the next week, too. So
that's true.
He's an extremely solid player.
Okay, so I want to talk about your list some. So you do play the 2 Napoleons. Was that just for like consistency, or was it like a certain Pokemon you were teching for?
It was a little bit of both. I really liked the consistency, especially under Toad, of being able to just discard Night Marchers from my hand and draw 2. That was really, really useful if I could get it out like turn 1 or turn 2. And then what was it? And then I teched it also for Donphan, Landobats, and oh boy, there was another matchup. Flareon, I think it was, because it hits for weakness even though there's not a lot of Pokemon out. I don't need to have a lot of Pokemon in the discard. And it's just a generally good card right after I get trump carded.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah.
Okay. Now you talk about the Boufflant to discard DCEs on Toads. Was it used for anything else really, or just for the Toad matchup?
It was used almost exclusively for Toad. It was also really, once again, a really good attacker right after I got Trump carded.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was extremely solid. Just being able to do 100, discard a DCE or a Rainbow or other stuff like that, it really put in work against Donphan, although I think his lack of supporters put in more work. I mean, yeah, Boufflant was a really good tech. I really enjoyed playing it. It's one of the cards I would not take out.
Okay. Now, you only played 1 in, and for Juniper, did you ever want any more draw cards besides those 5?
I would have been okay with another N, maybe, but I wouldn't have taken it above 2, really. I don't think N's that useful in this deck since you're trying to take prizes as fast as you can. It's only really great for disruption in this deck. There are better options for taking prizes. Stuff like Colress lets you can just drop all your board down, that kind of stuff.
That's true.
So I generally play a lot of N in my other decks, and I still run 4 Versus Seeker, so I can get N's back if I have to. But yeah, it just wasn't as necessary as it is in other decks.
Yeah, that's true. Alright, so you played 1 Archie. Did you ever prize it or win like a second one, or was the 1 like good enough?
I think one's good enough, although it was prized a couple times, and it got a little bit awkward when I like battle compressored away. Um, I had a VS Seeker in hand. It was my only card in hand, and I battle compress away like Empoleon, Lampent, and then I'd check my deck and I don't have the Archies. But then I would just get a Sycamore, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's usually not a huge issue. It can be kind of rough, especially if the Archies is your only card or no, then it wouldn't be prized. So no, it's not as big of an issue. I would love to run 2, but I don't think it's required like it is in some other decks.
Okay. Now, you talked about the Darkrai thing where he like sniped your bench and put 30 on the Mew. Did you ever want? Was there any other times you wanted Mr. Mime, or would you cut anything for Mr. Mime?
The thing I added for the Mr. Mime was the second Lysander, which is really, really nice just as like a safety card.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd really love to keep it in, but I think Mime, if I were to play the deck again like at Oregon, I'd probably be playing Mime. Just maybe over the Lysander, maybe over something else. It's so important against stuff like Landobats, even though Crobat still gets through it and knocks out Joltix and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just such an important card, and it's good against other things that snipe, just like Landorus itself, you know?
Yeah, sure.
It's just a useful card, and I probably should have played it.
Okay. Now, is there anything else you would like change in your deck, or besides the Mr. Mime, everything's like pretty much good?
After the tournament, I was talking with my friends on Team Ducklet Dynasty, and one of the guys, I think it was John Orgel, he said, "Oh, why are you playing Switch? You should be playing Floatstone. It sounds like it would be better." And I tested that, and I think it worked a lot better just because, A, it's nice to have a Pokemon with free retreat. So you like put it on a Jirachi if you bench it or something, since you wouldn't be attacking with it anyway. And then you have something to bring up with free retreat, so you don't have to spend retreat costs depending on what you draw. The only thing it's really worse against is stuff like lasers. But a lot of the decks that play lasers also play Toad, which locks items anyway.
That's true.
So if you can just drop a Floatstone down earlier, it seems it's useful in a different way, kind of.
Yeah,
it's not always the best option, but I feel like it's a better option most of the time.
Okay. Now, how many championship points are you at right now?
I'm at, depending on whether or not a league challenge that I was in, which currently hasn't given me any points, but it should, I'm at either 287 or 275.
Okay.
So, I'm not quite sure. It's a little bit awkward right now.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
but top 16 at Oregon this weekend should get me it, if I get top 16.
So,
and then I still have Seattle Regionals, which will probably have points for the top 32.
And you get nationals too if you go.
Nah, I'm not going.
You're not going.
It's a little bit too far.
Okay. So 2 more chances. Okay. Well, I think you do it, and you have had the league challenge too, right?
Yeah, I have like no points from league challenges this season. I've gotten like all my points from cities.
Oh, okay, sweet. Well, do you want to give a shout out to anybody?
Sure. I'll give a shout out to all my friends on Team Ducklet Dynasty. All the Idaho players that helped me with my list right at the last second. Chris Collins for beating me, getting first at one state, second at another. That was crazy, man.
Yeah.
And everyone else that I forgot, I guess, because I know I forgot someone.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for doing this, man, and good luck in your other regionals.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get your Worlds invite.
Thanks.
Alrighty, bye.
Hopefully I'll see you at Worlds, man.
Yeah. Alright.